Well, we're on the Rynstein Tract, and we knocked off on Friday, and it was the Friday before Thanksgiving. We was going to try to work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then take off Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. And one of the truck drivers had called us and said that the water was crossing the road. Well, the road that we're going on, the water, there's one spot the water crosses all the time, and I'm thinking the driver's talking about that. It was actually Monkey that called me. And so I get up early Monday to make sure everything's good before the guys have to track all the way up there. It's about an hour and a half from the house. And turned the corner there at what we call the ford, which is just the place that the water normally crosses at. And as far as I could see, nothing but water. And I get up with David, and come to find out they have released the water. You know, I guess it comes from Fayetteville. And anyway, I had to wait till the sun got up high enough where I could see, and I got on the motor grader and rode down through there, and there were spots in the road that was going over the motor grader tires, and the motor grader tires was about 3.5, 4 feet high. And I said, this is, you know, the road wasn't that good, and then all of a sudden this happens. It kind of bummed me out, because I mean, it's right here at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you know, the guys are going to be looking for bonuses, and you know, but anyway. So I said, well, we'll just take off this week and come back the following Monday and hit it hard and try to catch up. Well, we get out there the following Monday, and the water hardly hadn't dropped any, maybe a few feet. So that messed everything up, so we ended up having to move out. And luckily, David and them had a track not very far from us. It's actually part of the Oceanic Tract, and it's a big track, and we cut on it years ago. And it's probably 6-7 miles around there to it, and so we're trying to get moved around here. And of course, Mondays are Mondays, and Monkey, the first thing we move is the cutter so we can get some wood on the ground, and Monkey loads the cutter up, him and Smitro, and they start coming around here. And the new cutter I got, the guys I bought it from, they wasn't forthright with the weight of it. And the old machines weighed, you know, around 74,000 pounds. Well, this new machine actually weighs 86,000 pounds. Quite a bit heavier than the old ones. And of course, my lowboy, you know, I keep modern equipment, so my lowboy is a 1950 Rogers. And Monkey tries to get out with it, and apparently that with the weight of the new cutter and going over the humps in the road, it actually broke the axle. Not the spindle, it actually broke the tube on the axle. And so, you know, my old lowboy, I gotta try to figure out how to fix that now. And I told Justin the other day, when we get it broke down to fix that, I'm gonna go ahead and put another axle on it, because we gotta have one anyway to move that new cutter. But it's just been one thing after another, but thank God we're on a good track now. It's got rolling hills, so the sloughs are still got water in it, but we got a lot of wood that we can access from the hills, and that's what we're doing right now. We rushed over here Monday. It took Justin all day long to get the stuff over here, and they started hauling today. So hopefully we keep everything going, get into some logs, keep the trucks on a fairly short haul, so we can get some loads up before this week's over with.
This seemed like a bad day here so far. Look like everything want to break down with us, but we're gonna try to get it moved up. We got to get out in this hole here, cause we guess we're off all last week, so don't need another week of it. And maybe we're gonna try to get that one there loaded on another lowboy, so can we get it moved right now.
Have y'all seen Justin and Monkey? They were trying to move the cutter back out of the Rynstein Tract. We got caught in there with our pants down. They opened up the floodgates at Jordan River or Jordan Lake, and it all came down and flooded us out. So we're in the process of moving, and lo and behold, the last new tractor I bought was the fella buncher, and my salesman, I'm gonna call his name, said it weighed 80,000 pounds. Well, we found out that it weighs a little more than that, and it broke the axle on my vintage Rogers lowboy. It's actually a 1950, and so, you know, the brand new lowboy that I did, a 4-axle lowboy, is gonna be probably 80, 90, $100,000. So I'm gonna go ahead and send it to a machine shop, and they're gonna go ahead and cut it apart, go ahead and put me 4 axles on it. I'm gonna have a tandem axle and then 2 lift axles on it. And if we get that fixed, I'll probably take the old white lowboy, which is a 77 model, and go ahead and get it fixed, because the 80,000 pound tractor actually weighs 70 72,000 pounds on the back axle. So we gotta have another axle. And hopefully we get it fixed and get it where we can move legally. The tract that we moved to, a family owned it. From the history that I've learned about it, is back in the 30s and 40s, this family, the Marshall family, actually was logging through this area, and I'm not sure how it was arranged, but it had some kind of deal made out with the landowner or the lumber company that if they would log it, they would give him so much of the land. And it's actually the tract that Pim bought it from the Marshall family, which we call it the Oceanic Tract now, but it's about 4,000 acres. And it had been logged since the 30s and 40s, and you know, the Marshall, they cut it all clean. I pretty much, well, I know they cut all the logs out of it. They probably had some smaller trees left, but they hadn't done anything with it up until Pim bought it. Well, I take that back. We did cut some when the hurricane went through here, probably in '99. There were several spots blowed down, and we were skipping around on the whole track, cutting their timber that was blowed down and Corbett's timber that was blowed down. But this is the first time the track's actually been really cut on since the Marshalls had turned it loose. And believe it or not, they've actually left some of their old remnants out here. Used to, which somebody's got it now, it used to be an old bulldozer down at this intersection that was called Norcombe Store. Believe it or not, this place was the town back in the 30s and 40s, because the Cape Fear River, the Black River, all that goes to Wilmington, and people would float down the river, sell their goods. And I guess they would come back across the river, stop by Norcombe Store, get their supplies, and the dirt road, which it ain't dirt now, but part of it is, but it actually went all the way back to Fayetteville, and people would sell their goods, buy their supplies at Norcombe Store, and they'd walk back home. You know, it ain't like that today, but and I don't know why they did it, but a lot of the old timers did this kind of stuff. When they got through logging, wherever the stuff was sitting at, they just left it there. And you know, right behind us is an old, we call them steam donkeys. I think it was a steam donkey at one time, but it's got a gas motor on it now. And but it's a rehaul, a double winch rehaul, and they would tie them to a stump, and then they would let somebody pull the cable out in the woods and hook to a tree and wind it back in. Those guys really logged. I mean, we sat inside closed-in cabs with our MP3 players on and the air conditioning, climate controls, and all that. But I think we can move a little bit more wood than they did, but they did it a little bit cheaper than we did. But this place has got a lot of history, and people always talk about logging. Well, this tract right here has really been a tree farm, because I'm sure it was logged before the Marshalls got it, and then the Marshalls cut it. Now we're back cutting it, and there's some good timber on it. It's good tree growing land, simply for the fact that all that good red clay gets washed out the Cape Fear River once or twice a year. I think it's 3 times this year, and all that good nutrients gets washed up in there and makes the trees grow good. But it's an interesting track, and thank God we got it. Here, Smitro is usually the first person on the ground, because obviously nothing happens till you get the wood down. And we had to move around on the Oceanic Tract, and this is kind of what it looks like when he's getting started. We're working off of the edge of the hills because everything's flooded, but he's making a shovel road down the edge of the hill right now, getting started. And you know, this is kind of what it looks like, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling from here.
the rocket truck, we go wait for the equipment moving to here because to the old deck is flooring, so the road is bad. So I need to move to the next track to get it low because over he can't do nothing.
So we're getting moved out here, and we're going over to the buckle. We got some rain. They still ain't able to get in from last week, so we're just moving tracks here, and so we can get the mills, keep them supplied with wood. Trying to get everything situated now, not got everything moved out yet.
As you can see, we got a mess over here. The water is non-stop running. I guess they're gonna try to drain Jordan Lake. So I got, Justin got all the mats loaded up on a flatbed, and I got Abraham and John's gonna run back over there and try to get the flatbed hooked up, get to the end of the road. Not sure if we're gonna need them on the new track. More than likely we will, so we'll go ahead and get them ready to go so we can get them moved over there. But I'm not sure what's happened at Jordan Lake, but the water I haven't seen the water run this long and ever since I've been out here working, and it's causing us a bunch of problems. I wish they had called me before they let the water go. I got Monkey. He brought Antonio's loader over here, and after talking to some old guys that knows this track really well, is actually kin to the Marshalls. The woods might flood this time, but I'm pretty sure this hill's not, because this is the highest hill that's out here, according to old man Marshall, and there's an old drum rehaul thing to prove it. He said this is the highest hill out here, so we're gonna set up here. The woods might go in the water, but the equipment's not this time, hopefully.
Hello, my name is Harry Marshall. My father, Haley Marshall, his two brothers, Crawford Marshall and Melvin Marshall, formed a lumber company in the 50s that is a throwback. They were some of the original swamp loggers. They actually worked with oxen, and prior to that, they did raft logs to Wilmington, which is 20-some miles up. And then later on, when the conversion to gasoline came, Corbett Timber Company had a barge called a Bakewood and a the barge carrier itself was actually an old bomb carrier from World War II, and they loaded logs on it. It carried about the equivalent of 250 trees to Wilmington every Friday. It came in Wednesday about 12 o'clock, tied up to the banks of the Cape Fear River. We cleared out a bank enough to get the barge in there, and it had a crane and a big set of tongs, and the wood was cut and dragged to the river. It was sawed up there and loaded on the barge. And then on Friday, it was finished being loaded, usually around 3 o'clock, something like that, and then that barge would take off to Wilmington, and I actually drove the barge to Wilmington one time when I was about 10 years old. And I worked the log deck and drove the Franklin logging machine for every summer from the time I was, well, about 13 till I was 18, till I graduated high school. One of the places down here is called the Norcom store, and there was an actual store down here, and an old man Norcom ran it. Everything at that time came up to Cape Fear, and actually the mail that went to Kelly came by river up to the Norcom store. It was loaded on muleback, and there was a road that went from there to Kelly, and the mail was carried to Kelly from there. And this place was owned by the Hilton Lumber Companies, the Daystrom, and there was a few other, but Hilton was the biggest lumber company. And how my daddy and his brothers obtained it was basically it was bought from lumber companies that went out of business. Some of it was later on brought out by train. The Dink was a train that my daddy and them used to use. It was down in the woods there. And the track actually went by my house. It's on the Kentuck Road. I've still got a portion of the track you can actually see. It's about the only portion of the track that you can actually see the indentation of where the train went. You can't see any railroad ties or anything like that now, but it was just the indentation. And it wasn't a passenger train. It was strictly for commerce, and that was how the trees got out. And that was actually, the trains came along after the rafting stopped. And then the trains came, and then when the Corbett Lumber purchased the barge, then we started loading the barge for Corbett, and that's how the trees made it to Wilmington to Corbett Package Company.
And Dorley told me, how many more trailers? 3 trailers in next 2 o'clock. He said, long time, it's Friday, man. I'm tired everybody. The long week. It's every Friday saying, take the money and I need to go home. Every people. He said, only like on Fridays. For taking money, and I'm tired all week, man.
But last Thursday, I just got loaded to go to Ringlewood, and I pulled up to the tram up, and all of a sudden I was backing up, get trammed up, and then I said I'm gonna pull up a little bit. Time I pulled up, before I got the clutch out, bam! Heard a noise, truck quit pulling. So we knew what was wrong with it, pulled all the axles out of it, that didn't work. So finally he said, drop the trailer, we'll take it to the shop and see what's wrong with it. So Friday morning I brought it up here, he pulled all the axles back out of it, pulled the rear end out of it, and turned out the splines on the rear end was stripped out. So he had another one out there in the shed, put that one in there, put the axle back in, did the same thing. So he said, well, do it again, we might as well go and put a new one in there. So we got a new rear end. Right now we start to put it in, we're gonna put in new axles, new grease, new powder ballast. Hopefully that'll solve the problem. And right now we just basically trying to put it in, we're waiting on one part to get here. Got it held up just a little bit, but it's not going to stop. So we're going to go to that point and stop and wait on the part. Hopefully this afternoon we have that rolling.
Fix to stick it in. Looks pretty hanging up there. Looks like new parts. here it is, Tuesday morning. We're at the shop. Friday, Justin had a bad day with trucks. I mean, he started that morning working on Wayne's truck, putting the fuel pump on it, and didn't have to work on, I think it was Monkey's truck, and then that evening Wayne's truck got back to the woods to get his last load, and heard a popping in the rear end. Of course, they checked the axles. That's usually what happens, breaks in the axle, but it wasn't. Get it back to the shop here, and Friday, I think it was Friday or Saturday, Justin tore it down and it's the rear end. And I made a run yesterday morning early to run to Concord to Overdrive, which is a great company that, I mean, they got everything there. And just unfortunate for me, it's 3.5 hours away, but went up there and we got the rear end, and we got it back, and somehow forgot to get the through shaft, and that's a main component in the rear end. And well, Justin's gonna go ahead and put the hog head in, and we're trying to get UPS to see where they are to get the through shaft, but we're gonna try to get Wayne's truck running today. He's been driving the old Mack, and that ain't the most comfortable truck to drive after driving a W900. But anyway, I'm gonna run to the woods and run the loader for Justin while he's working on this, and hopefully we can get it done and get everything squared away.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Just getting here at the shop. My truck's in the shop, been driving the spare truck, the old reliable Mack. It's a good truck. Make you realize, make you appreciate what you got when you're not in your truck, but all in all, it's a good truck. It beats being home, can make some money. And a lot of guys don't like to drive it, but hey, I'll do what I got to do to make that money. Ken Poe.
last week Wayne's truck ended up busting the front rear end, and got it to the shop, got it out, and now we got the new one in, got it put in today, got it all siliconed up, and we're just doing some odds and ends. I'm waiting on the through shaft. It'll be here today, so I'll have Wayne running today, and he'll be hauling wood tomorrow. So it's not a hard fix, not with the crane anyway. So everything went pretty smoothly, got everything back together.
Yeah, we finally got the part in yesterday, and me and Justin working on it, and we finally got it going. I hauled a load to Georgetown this morning, seemed to be doing pretty good. So I'm gonna go to Rigglewood now and see how it's doing. Everything looks good, hoping it'll be all right for a while.
Here Justin is repairing a brake booster on one of the spot trailers. I don't, you know, by law we gotta have them at least on one axle on the trailers. I don't really like the double brake boosters because whenever the spot truck hooks to them, we gotta hook airlines up. You know, like our old low boys and stuff, the older equipment didn't have that stuff on it, and when you back down there with the spot truck, you didn't even have to hook no airlines up because the brakes weren't locked on it. But I mean, it's a safety feature that they got on the newer equipment now. I guess they've been on there for 25 years or more, I don't know. But what it's for is if the truck's going down the highway and he blows the airline out, the brakes will automatically lock down. And it's a nice safety feature, but they're also, those double chambers are very dangerous. If you're not aware of it, you don't need to mess with it because there's a diaphragm in there called a pancake, and they're easy to change. But on those double boosters, there's a coil spring in there that if you take that band off without locking it down, it will come apart and kill you. So if you don't know what you're messing with, don't mess with them, throw it away and buy you a new one. But we got to keep your truck safe on the roads. You know, we have been struggling of late with the hurricane hitting and then getting run out again a few weeks later because the gates opened up at the Jordan River. But finally, we're hitting on all 8 cylinders. We got a couple extra trucks helping us, and we're hauling some wood now. If we just keep it up, don't know how long it's gonna last, but we're gonna ride the horse till it's dead.
Everybody, we over here on a new track. We had to leave from the other one because there was so much water over there. I'm not sure where the water came from because we hadn't had much rain. But of course, we were working between two rivers. And I know we got out one night it was a Saturday morning I was working, probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's still dark. We were going down into the woods and we noticed as we got towards the back, towards the deck, that there was a whole bunch of water running across the road. This is when it first started. And so when we got inside, it was a truck ahead of me, and it was a truck that had already went in. That it was me and Monkey. We didn't even know the other truck was back there, and Monkey was stuck in the middle of two rivers, you might as well say, because the water, it was rushing in so fast. Well, he was scared to proceed, but luckily the other truck was in there, so it gave him courage to go head on through, because the other truck had got through. And we did get in there that morning and get our trailers out, but we ended up having to move from over there to over here to where it's a lot drier at. So now we're just back hauling down to Georgetown again. We're back in some hardwood, which I think is a pretty good thing. So hopefully we'll have better luck on this track than we did on the other one. But I'm pretty sure that when that water recedes, they're gonna send us right back over there in the mud. So it's just a matter of time. But yeah, got my first load from the new track. About to throw my straps and get on the highway. We'll see y'all next time.
What you're looking at is they call it the Cape Fear Lowlands, and the track that we're set up on the hill is the Oceanic Tract, which used to be the Marshall Tract, and this particular parcel that we're cutting now is about 500 acres. But there's several different landowners in here. There's actually they call it the 7 Mile Road, but it's actually 11 miles long that surrounds or goes down the Cape Fear River down the whole back side of this track. But it's about, with the different landowners in here, there's probably 8,000 acres at least in here, because I know the Marshalls own 4,000 and Corbett owns probably that much, and then there's 2 or 3 other landowners in here. But it's a beautiful tract of timber, and it's a good tree growing land here. Now, I've been on and around the Marshall Tract a lot, and it's great to hear the old stories about how the people used to log, and matter of fact, most of their equipment still left out here in different areas. The Clee Track, the little drum rehaul thing that's over here on this hill. It's neat, and we've actually located one of the marshals who actually logged on this. Of course, I think it was his granddaddy that actually did it, but he remembers it, and he was out here doing it. And it's neat to hear the old stories about how they used to do it, and to think about the things that we complain about now and what those guys dealt with back then. It's interesting.
Yeah. All right, this is a homemade, basically a winch. The operator, which for a few years was my father broke his neck in a logging accident and had to be carried out on a stretcher, a homemade stretcher out of wood and jackets tied together, actually, and survived, which was unusual. But anyway, he ran this skidder for about 2 years after he'd broken his neck. And how they let him do it was they took a tree about this big and cut a seat out of it, and they set it right back here. And this is how he would operate it. It has a gear shift on it. You put it in gear, and what you had was basically a winch that ran to a block and tackle. And what they would do is they would go and find the highest tree, which something like that one right there just kind of rotted down over there. They would find this, but it would be solid. They would cut the top out of it. They would attach a block and tackle to the top, run the cable off to it, and then from it would run down the swamp. What you would have is down in the swamp, you would have a spotter, and he would be on the edge of the swamp. Then there would be someone further in that would be, and they would drag this cable all the way back there, and once the operator was told to engage, it would start winching the logs up, pulling them out of the swamp. And you had to have a spotter down there because the operator couldn't see what was going on. And I know Daddy had told me of several people that were killed. One in particular I remember him telling me about was they were winching the log through, and it was in this area. They were winching the log through, and the guy hid behind the tree because the cable was getting tight and there was, I guess, no spotter or whatever. And the tree jammed, and he looked from around the tree, and the tree came undone, and the tree hit him in his face and killed him. I've known of about, Daddy telling me about 3 or 4 people getting killed in here, and it was basically because of the way the operations was run. There was no safety factors involved. The spotter was the closest thing to any kind of safety factor that they would have. But basically, it ran on a small engine, and they winched the logs up here, and that's how they got them out of the swamp. There was no machinery at that time. Actually, like I said, my father at one time had worked with oxen, and he actually, I think, preferred oxen. He liked it, but you know, modernization. They ended up getting 2 crawler tractors, and later on a 132 XL Franklin swamp buggy. And they used that until they retired.
Yeah. You too, I had a lot of maybe kids tomorrow. Yeah, y'all probably be going tomorrow. So the deck on the very back with the bus setting. Everything when you move it, you just fine. They want to build a road to that. That road, they want to have access to the road. What's up? What's up? Cerca de camarones.
Well, like I said, if you ever see them white, have you been around here and seen like a mound? It's like 10, 12, 15 feet across, just out in the middle of nowhere.
I ain't been no farther than this hill right now.
Okay. I was because it was back to when they used to make turpentine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If you ever see one, it looks like a flying saucer landed there.
Okay.
But what it is they clear it out of place, they put the stumps in there, they put pine straw and shit on top of them, they light them on fire, and then they throw dirt on top of it, and it smolders and the tar runs out, and they scoop it up. And that was how they got tar and the resin stuff. But you'll see them.
You know, I know y'all seen the footage where Justin goes back in the back of the Rynstein Tract where we got ran out when the hurricane hit. Justin went back in there with the truck to check it, to see what the equipment was like and how high the water was, and you know that transpired Friday. We left, everything was fine. Some of the truck drivers called Saturday and said the water had started crossing the road. Well, there's a spot there that it crosses all the time, so that's what I'm thinking it was. Well, lo and behold, we get there Monday, and for 1.5 miles down the road, the water's 4 feet deep. And but anyway, Justin went down there to check it out and see how bad it was, and obviously it wasn't going to leave no time soon, so we had to pull out. And anyway, we're out over here. We're actually moved to a track. It's called the Oceanic Tract, which it actually joins that track that we're on. It's just about 7 miles by the highway to get over here where we're at, which is set up on a good high hill now. And
de tomarse espacio. I tell you what, I'm gonna tear the whole grill off the front of it. I'm gonna tear the whole grill off the front of it.
My name is Daniel. All the load down in Trumbull, and they graded the wood pretty good down there. They sent it back with a rejected log because it had a bad hard in it. We're down here down the Oceanic Tract, and they're moving it out pretty good.
Right there where the backhoe is, where that pile of trash is, and it goes across that hill for about a mile. Is that where he's back there now? That's where he was going, but I hadn't rode down there. I didn't even pay attention to see if he had cut any. Wanted to say a little something about logging in general. A lot of people have the wrong idea, well, people that don't know have the wrong idea about us clear cutting. Well, again, I said it before, this tract here is several thousand acres. I mean, I know the Marshall owned by over 4,000 acres, probably a little bit more. Corbett's got a bunch of it. But as far back as the 1900s, this land here was set aside for what we're doing right now. The Marshalls logged it, and it's grown back since they logged it. It's been thinned a couple times, and now we're coming back to clear cut it to go ahead and get a new forest coming up. Because a lot of times, if you cut the high value species out, the hardwood trees have a tendency, everything spreads out. When the top gets bigger, it shades out the bottom. No new growth comes up. So you end up with the inferior trees still growing. But if you come in here and clear cut it and let Mother Nature take its course, or hand plant it, ever how you want to do it. It just comes back better, and it's a renewable resource. The hardwood takes a little longer to grow than pine, but you cut it, it'll grow again. Now, Mother Nature has a way of fixing herself, or the good Lord does. Well, guys, that's our video, and we really want to thank Harry Marshall for actually coming out and telling us about his family, their land, and about how they used to do it. It's very interesting to hear the old school stories. And remember to like and share, and we'll keep the videos coming to you.
And please don't forget to hit the like and share button down at the bottom.
And don't forget to hit the like and share button.
Don't forget to hit that like and share button.